we believe that people are inherently good and people inherently want to be productive members of society, right? So as long as people are respecting other people's rights and other people's property, we're cool with everything that you do. Now, as we look at the issues, oh my God, they're all kind of intertwined, and they're all kind of a tangled mess.
Can I pause for a second and just note that we got Brian on here who's getting Congressman Massey on, and our typical lineup includes like homeless people that believe in Bigfoot.
Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show, your source for common sense politics on the We Are Libertarians Network. The Brian Nichols Show is the fastest growing liberty podcast that brings together people from all means of political thought as we seek to have meaningful conversations about the issues you care about. At the Brian Nichols Show, our goal is to leave the audience educated, enlightened, and informed. And now your host, Brian Nichols.
Well, hey there, folks. Happy Sunday. Yes, Sunday here on the Brian Nichols Show. You know what that means. It's time for our Sunday Candidate Highlight Series. Hey there. By the way, I am your humble host, of course, Brian Nichols. And today we are speaking to U.S. Senate candidate Steve Scheetz. He is running for, as I mentioned, U.S. Senate here in Pennsylvania. And Steve decided to run for office because he wants to bring libertarian solutions to your average person, which I dare say is the goal, is it not, here of our greater liberty world? So a great opportunity to dig into why Steve is running, but also Steve's track record of helping bring solutions to the Libertarian Party. Also, side note, please stick around after our conversation today. Some exciting stuff to announce as we go forward here in the next month or so. So with that being said, on to the show. Steve Scheetz here on the Brian Nichols Show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you for joining the program. And yes, thank you for running for office. You were running for U.S. Senate as a big L libertarian here in Pennsylvania. I hail in Philly. Actually, I think I saw you speak down there at the LP of Delaware event back a couple of weeks ago. It was a great chance. Yeah, I think it was a great chance down there to see a lot of those folks, I've only gotten to interact with in the online sphere. So it was great to hear you speak down there. But I ended up hearing from your team. Amanda reached out and saying, Brian, we're looking at getting Steve on the show because he's running for U.S. Senate. And that caught me by surprise. I don't know how I missed that. So, Steve, welcome to the program. Let's kind of dig into, number one, who you are, and number two, why you're running for office, particularly as a libertarian for U.S. Senate here in Pennsylvania.
Well, first things first, why I'm a libertarian. Back in the 80s, yes, I'm dating myself, a guy by the name of Irv Homer, he was the one who brought me to libertarianism. I was going to school, you hear from teachers who are right-leaning, you hear from teachers who are left-leaning, and each one of them just seems to show you the Democratic standpoint or the Republican standpoint. And, it just, to me, it didn't fit. Neither of them really fit. Then there's this guy on the radio, Irv Homer, and he's talking about something in a way that just makes sense to me. And then one of the first things that he talked about, as far as my memory goes of listening to the radio, was the move issue. And for those who don't know, there was a point in the mid-'80s where the mayor dropped a bomb on a city block in Philadelphia. And it was basically because this group of people who called themselves the MOVE movement, they were there and they were being politically active and they were being a nuisance, we'll say, to the government. And take that for whatever it is. But he spent a lot of time showing or sharing why it was that they were doing what they were doing, why they were upset about the way things were. And it opened my eyes to a completely different perspective, and I was really excited to listen to it. So fast forward, I'm a military vet. I was in the military, then out of the military. And when 1992 came around, I voted for Andre Maru, libertarian, and I was excited to do so. The first time I participated in any kind of electoral politics was in 1994. I actually went out and started petitioning for the first time ever for a gentleman by the name of Lee Husted out of Montgomery County. And he was running for Congress. And it was a lot of fun. And it was interesting getting out there and talking to people. and talking to him, working the polls, going to a debate. It was interesting. But again, life gets in the way and things change, and activities they wane and they ebb and they flow. So time rolls on. It gets to be around 2004, and I start getting active in the party again. And 2004, I became secretary of Chester County. I happen to live there. And I started working with some of the people in Montgomery County as well. And that was the first time I got a chance to meet Michael Bednarik. And I met a couple of the other presidential candidates, but it was Michael Bednarik who I really liked, who I really loved his message. I loved the way he talked. I loved just the way he brought things about. And I remember I didn't get a chance to go to that convention, but I did see some of the convention, some of the video from the convention. And he almost reminded me of Columbo, the way he presented the facts, the way he presented the libertarian position. Whereas Aaron, he came across more like a used car salesman. And oh my God, the other guy whose name escapes me right now definitely came across like a radio personality. But I really liked Michael Bednarik. I thought he was a really neat candidate. And the way he did it, he went around and just basically used the sales from his book to finance his campaign. And it just took a lot for him to do that. And I just had a lot of respect for him doing that. And he just put everything on hold to go and talk about what he believed was right. 2008, I became chair of Montgomery County, and I started working on liberty education stuff. For example, we had liberty forums, and we talked about homeschooling. We talked about other issues that matter to people. We had law enforcement against prohibition to talk about legalization of marijuana. We did a lot of protesting in that organization. We went around to basically fight different townships who were using eminent domain to take people's property. And some of those times we went around to township supervisors' houses, and we had a group of people. We had like 75 people that, on average, that showed up at each one of the township supervisors' house who voted in favor of eminent domain. We're passing out literature explaining why this is theft, why this is wrong. And in the end, we basically drew everything out to the point where they couldn't do it anymore. And I thought that was a bit of a victory for us. And moving forward, I wound up becoming chair of the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania in 2013, and worked in that for a couple years. And again, life gets in the way. At the time, I was painting aircraft, and the job was just 15 hours a week, not 15 hours a week, 15 hours a day, and time just gets away from you. You're trying to do that. You're trying to be fair to the state party and be fair to chairing the county committee, because I was still doing that at the time, and you just run out of time. You just run out of life, and you spend so much time doing that. So I backed off a bit, and then I started becoming more active again in 2019. I ran for chair again, and part of it had to do with seeing solutions to some of the problems we were running into with the party. And I had some people who I felt like they could help. They could make this stuff work, and I had a way forward was the point. So I ran for, and I won election to chair. And our first meeting, we hired an executive director. We actually decided to become part of the National City CRM because our data was just horrific. We couldn't accept donations. It was the party was having a problem, and most of it was tech related. So we fixed that. Getting a contract that was worthwhile for an executive director, having him come into play, having him work for us. We started doing an awful lot. We started growing the party wholesale. We had 187 members the day that I took office. And the day I left office, we had 1,200. And 90% of those could be directly traced back to the work Kevin did with his mailings and just promoting the party the way he promoted the party. He did an awful lot of work over those 2 years, and I was really proud to work with him. Another thing that helped us was the work that our current chair, Jennifer Moore, did with the Moulton maneuver. This is where we managed to elect a large number of libertarians, more than the rest of the nation combined. And basically, the whole purpose of this is to put libertarians in office so we could demonstrate to people that libertarians can take part in political solutions, that we absolutely positively can govern at these local levels, and we can demonstrate that we can work within this duopoly and change the way things are. We can change the conversation and make things happen. 2019, we had a lot of people show up and decide to go to work in their communities, and it was really gratifying to see that happening. 2020, wow, we had a government shutdown, but yet somehow we managed to get ballot access. We managed to grow the party still, and we just did an awful lot in these last 2 years. And I'm just really excited about the accomplishments that we did and what we're working on now. This year, it's looking like we're going to dwarf what we did in 2019 as far as elected libertarians go, and I'm really excited about that.
Well, one of the most, I would say, exciting things that you mentioned in all that was starting to focus on those local successes, because just the very nature of the beast, people are looking to make sure they can trust us. And I think too often than not, we have presented ourselves just as the third option. Oh, you don't like your bad option 1 or bad option 2? Well, guess what? We're the third option. That's not a very compelling argument or sales approach, I would dare say. So right now, I think we do have a chance to look back and say, look at these local candidates that we are having success with. And I think that right there, Steve, is where we can start off the conversation here, focusing on PA specifically for issues that you're seeing and why you're running for office right now as a libertarian on a national level. Let's take what you're seeing as being successful, meeting people where they're at on local issues, and let's bring that to the national issue. If you're going to be running for U.S. Senate, obviously you're going to be talking national issues. So looking at those national issues right now, top of mind issues specifically, how would you address them from a libertarian perspective? And with you being the candidate, I'll kind of a dealer's choice in terms of where you want to start.
Okay, so we have lots of issues. First things first, libertarian perspective, with basic rights, there is no conflict between an orderly society and individual rights. And that basically means that, we believe that people are inherently good and people inherently want to be productive members of society, right? So as long as people are respecting other people's rights and other people's property, we're cool with everything that you do. Now, as we look at the issues, oh my God, they're all kind of intertwined, and they're all kind of a tangled mess. We have gun violence, we have healthcare, we have criminal justice, we have the minimum wage, we have the drug war, we have pollution, we have foreign policy. As a senator, it's my job to work with senators from all stripes. So, the whole thing that we heard in 2020, that we all got excited about was tripartisan bills. There was a tripartisan bill, and everybody was excited about that. And I'd like to see more of that going on in our legislature. As far as violence, a lot of times we see reactionary things. We see gun control as being touted as what we need to be doing. But, when we do these reactionary methods, when we do these reactionary solutions, they're not really solutions. They just create more problems. Instead of being reactionary, what we should do is be more proactive, study why it is that there is this violence. And, one of the reasons why we have violence in the streets in Philadelphia can be tied to the drug war policy. Some of our immigration issues, that can be tied to the drug war policy. There's a lot of things that can be tied to this drug war policy that if it went away, you would see that A, we would not be spending hundreds of billions of dollars every year keeping people warehoused like cattle in prisons where they're not actually getting treatment for their drug addictions or anything else. They're becoming violent criminals when they come out of prison. We would also see that people from El Salvador would be interested in coming across our border quite so much because their homes aren't necessarily a disaster anymore. When you take away the profit motive from the black market drug trade, all of a sudden these black market criminals need to find some other way of making money. And generally that means they're not shooting each other, trying to protect their turf, if you will. So we have that going on. We have the people in the streets of Philadelphia. If they're not going to be shooting each other in the streets of Philadelphia because, again, black market drug trade, that profit motive is going to be gone. So we eliminate the drug war, we eliminate a lot of the violence. And then we don't have to worry so much about taking people's rights, taking people's gun rights. Another issue with gun violence is reform from the judicial standpoint. And when people look at the judiciary, they're going to the judiciary after their rights have been violated, after things have already happened, and the world just sucks for them. Instead of that, we'll be able to fix that. Look, in California earlier this year, the Ninth Circuit came out with an opinion that, in my humble opinion, was a terrible one. They said exactly this: there is no right to carry openly in public, nor is any such right within the scope of the Second Amendment. Now, did they use the Second Amendment in determining this? No. Did they use case law in the United States to determine this? No. They used case law from Britain in the 1300s to determine this. And we have a difference of opinion as to where that should be in our history, where that should be in determining how we fix these things.
Didn't we fight a war to not care about British case law? 1776 specifically. That rings a bell.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And how do we fix these problems? We fix these problems by not walking down that path in the first place, by looking at these issues in a different way, because we look at these things in the same way. We tried out the same solutions to the same problems, but the same solutions to the same problems have led us to where we are today. We're $30 trillion in debt because of these same solutions that we keep using over and over again. Now, as a libertarian, our job, and you heard this in Delaware, our job is to put parents in charge of their children's education, to put them in partnership with teachers at the most local levels. And part of this is getting away from the Department of Education. Look, we have this Department of Education that's 1,000 miles away, a couple thousand miles away from various schools, various students. They don't know how the children think, how the children learn. The teachers who are teaching the children do, the parents who are raising the children do, and those are the people who are in the best position to give the children the tools they need to succeed in tomorrow's job market, not the Department of Education. When we talk to Republicans and Democrats and we frame our discussion in that manner, we're no longer talking to Republicans and Democrats. We're talking to parents. And that's a big distinction, because everybody that's a parent has kids. Everybody has the idea they want the best for their kids, and they want them to succeed when they're growing up. It's not really complicated, and it shouldn't be that difficult to say that we can do just that.
So I would say right now the biggest pushback you're going to see is that there is a, unfortunately, loud minority, and we see this on both the Republicans and Democrats as they go back and forth, and whoever's control the White House, they're still a minority. They're not a majority of Americans who will fight tooth and nail to maintain, and you were referring to the old solutions. I as a sales guy, call that status quo. So maintaining this status quo existing solution, your existing vendors who have both really not done a good job. So then it comes to, well, how can we as the libertarians present ourselves as a viable alternative solution and actually address those problems that people are seeing? And how do we, I guess, overcome, because for a fact that the status quo vendors are going to make sure that they go all out to maintain that ownership of their buyers, and in this case it's going to be their voters. So how are we going to be prepared to defend against those attacks and overcome those objections?
Well, first things first, part of being a senatorial candidate is helping the down ballot candidates. So going around the state and helping the candidates at the local levels, helping them get on the ballot, helping them with their messaging, helping them with their campaigns. This is going to put me into contact with people at the local levels. And, we don't necessarily need to have TV ads for these things. I mean, of course, TV ads do help, but look, we don't have the money for that. We have to talk to people at the grassroots level. And like I said, when we talk to people, when we say, look, we send these politicians down to DC cycle after cycle, they solve zero problems. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to a left-leaning Democrat or a right-leaning Republican. Everybody recognizes that to be truth. Congress has an approval rating in the single digits, and they have that for a reason. And it's because what they've done, what they've actually worked on, hasn't really amounted to any legitimate change, any legitimate improvement. And that's something that we need to fix. We need to fix people's perceptions that they absolutely positively have to keep voting the lesser of two evils, because the lesser of two evils is the reason why we are $30 trillion in debt. And we can drive that point home to people as we talk to them face to face on the street. We don't necessarily have that ability so much regarding like the TV commercials. We're going to be up against an ad machine that's going to be spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try and get the status quo reelected. And when I say reelected, it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat. They're going to be the status quo.
Interesting. That's partly why Chris Goizetta and I have kind of started on the side. We're helping a lot of these candidates behind the scenes with their campaigns specifically, so we understand the fact that, hey, to your point, the red team and the blue team, they're going to be spending oceans and oceans of money on these campaigns. We don't have that. So we have to kind of go this grassroots, almost punk rock approach to getting in front of people. And I love, there's a great marketing guru you should check out. His name is Philip Stutz, and he has a great podcast. He's actually going to be on the show coming up here in, I think, August is when we got him on the show. And one of the stories they're talking about is bands. They talk about the Grateful Dead and Coldplay, and how basically the Grateful Dead and Coldplay entirely curated their fan base through this kind of guerrilla marketing, going out and meeting people where they're at and allowing their fan base to just be fans and to become super fans, where they could sell merch, they could record at Coldplay concerts and put it on YouTube. Because what did that do? That created more buzz. That created the opportunity for more people to be reached and possibly hear this new music. So to think if we could do that for the greater liberty world, I'm starting to see an opening, because more people are starting to say, this isn't working and I'm looking for solutions. And right now, that's the great opportunity for us to enter into those conversations. So as we go to the last 5 minutes or so here in the show, Steve, let's kind of go towards a tactics approach. When you're going out and you're talking to voters, what are you finding is the best way to address the problems that they're presenting to you?
Okay, so as a candidate, and I don't mean to kind of hash this back, but as a candidate, people are actually listening to what I have to say. A lot more so than when I was a protester. When I was a protester, and you heard me say this down in Delaware as well, people just really are unhappy that I even slowed them down for half a second. But as a candidate, they're listening to me and they're remembering what I have to say. So when I talk to them and I give them a solution, even if it doesn't resonate right away, if I see them a couple weeks later, and so a lot of times I did when I was running for Congress, they would remember me by name, and they said, I thought about that. And then they might say, I'm definitely considering what it is that you're saying, because it makes sense to me. Or they might ask me some further questions, and say, well, what about this? Or what about this? And when they start asking questions like, what about this and what about this, that enables me to reflect back what it is that they're saying, reflect back their concerns, and offer them the solutions that are going to make them start thinking that, okay, there are better solutions. Maybe it's time to change the way we do things.
Well, Steve Scheetz, thank you for coming on the show, number one. Number two, let's do this. Give you the final platform here on the program. Anything you want. What's been top of mind, and what's the message you want to leave the Brian Nichols Show audience with?
Look, 2022 is going to be a huge, huge year. I'm going to be driving around the state a lot. I'm going to be visiting with our down ballot candidates a lot. Liz Terwilliger up in North Central Pennsylvania, she's amazing. She's doing a lot of community outreach and community days and making things happen that way. Whenever something like that's going on, I'm going to be there. Whenever something, some kind of campaign event is going on in Oil City, I'm going to be there. If there's going to be something going on in Greene County, I'm going to be there too. Whatever it takes, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to help the candidates who are down ballot for me, get us all on the ballot, reach the people that they're trying to reach, help their campaigns, have them help my campaign, and us all succeed together.
All succeed together. There it is. There's the call to action. And with that being said, another call to action. Obviously, we want folks to be able to go ahead and find you online. So, Steve, social media plugs, website, where can folks go ahead and find you?
Okay, so right now I'm still working on ScheetzForSenate.com. It's almost up, almost ready to go. I have a way to collect donations with PayPal. I believe those links are on my Facebook page currently. So that's Facebook, Scheetz for Senate. And that's where we are right now.
Perfect. So how about this? We'll make it easy for you folks, for you audio listener, as well as you video watcher. Go to the show notes or the description here in the video. Click the links. I'll include them right there for you guys. So you can go ahead right to Steve's Facebook page as well. Steve, you're on Twitter as well, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, we'll make sure we include that link as well. With that being said, Steve Scheetz, running for U.S. Senate here in Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us here at the Brian Nichols Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to wrap up my conversation with Steve Scheetz. If you enjoyed the episode, of course, please do me a solid. Go ahead and share today's episode, and when you do, make sure you tag Steve, and please be sure to tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty, Twitter and Facebook. Also, you can find me over on Instagram and TikTok. Now, some housekeeping. I hinted at it there at the beginning, and thank you for sticking around because we got some exciting stuff coming up. Namely, coming up here over the next few weeks, you're going to be seeing lots of posts about my moderating via the amazing new platform that is Town Circle, which helps encourage folks to go out of their way and engage in healthy conversations or debates, while also at the same point in time trying to help raise money for good causes. I am hosting a debate, moderating a debate over on Town Circle between good friends of the show, Eric Brakey from Young Americans for Liberty and Mark Claire from Lions of Liberty. The topic of conversation was the Edward Snowden leaks a net positive or negative for liberty. A great conversation, and I'm so excited to, again, be able to raise awareness to Town Circle and what they're doing, and also to be able to moderate this exciting debate. So please make sure you go over to the social media at B Nichols Liberty. You'll see all of the posts we're going to be doing about the event coming up here. And if you want to make a pledge, everything goes right towards a charity. In this case, we're helping feed families. I think one donation can help feed, I think it's 1 or 2 kids. So right there, you can go ahead and make a direct impact. And that's what we're trying to do here, not just at the Brian Nichols Show, but at the greater liberty movement. We're trying to help create solutions to help solve the problems we see out there. So like my amazing team member here, Frankie, and her awesome organization, Feed Philly, doing great work helping bring not only food access to those in need, but specifically focusing on those who are homeless. So it's important for us to make sure we're raising awareness for awesome organizations like Feed Philly, like Town Circle, who are, yes, actually going out of their way and doing what we need to do, and that is offering private sector solutions to the problems we see out there. So your average lefty friend doesn't say, well, we need to have government go ahead and take care of this, Brian. So with that being said, please, at B Nichols Liberty, check out the links, and as well, I'll include here in the show notes. Also, friend Eric Brakey, as I mentioned, from Young Americans for Liberty, he invited yours truly down to Young Americans for Liberty Revolution 21, Orlando, Florida. I will be on Media Row August 5th through the 7th. If you're going to be at Revolution 21, I would love to see you. So please make it a point. Stop by, say hello, grab a quick picture with us. And I say us because Chris Goizetta is going to be at the program or at the booth as well. And we're going to be having some great conversations. I know I was reaching out there to a good friend, Corey DeAngelis. He's going to be in town. So we're going to sync up, as well as a few other noted folks here that you guys know and love from the Brian Nichols Show. Past guests, and also you guys are an awesome audience too. So you've built your own little community online, and I love to see that. And yes, we're making a difference. The conversations are changing. So thank you to you amazing audience for helping make that happen. But yes, going back to Revolution 21, if you're going to be down there, please, again, make sure you stop by. And when you get a picture, of course, please send it to me, Brian at briannicholsshow.com, or you can go ahead and tag me on social media again at B Nichols Liberty. Now, I've mentioned the Patreon a million times at this point. And now I'm so excited to officially launch our first real event for the Patreon subscribers. And that is going to be a live Q&A with yours truly, which we will, of course, go ahead and re-air down the road. And you guys can ask questions as members of the Brian Nichols Show audience, but it will be a live conversation with those who are in the Patreon. So that's going to be taking place here over the next few weeks. If you want to make sure you're included in this amazing Patreon conversation in a live forum, please head to briannicholsshow.com/support, and you can sign up to be either a $5 or $10 per month Patreon supporter. And either way, you're going to get one of these awesome Don't Hurt People, Don't Take People's Stuff bumper sticker, which of course is a great way to help pique some interest without being overtly aggressive, right? I mean, it's a conversation starter. I've heard people on the left and the right both read the Don't Hurt People and Don't Take People's Stuff bumper sticker and go, yeah. And if that's not, just showing the value of when you enter into conversations with people that they're already having, that's a conversation they likely have. Why can't we just do things without, just leave me alone? That's a conversation they're having. Enter into that conversation with a libertarian or liberty-based solution. So, Patreon supporters, you will be seeing, of course, an email coming out here with the link in the next week or so for that live conversation. But in the meantime, get your questions over to me. My DMs are open on Twitter at bnicholsliberty. Also, email me, as I said before, my email, Brian at briannicholsshow.com. Or if you really want to go ahead, use, the contact submission form on the website, briannicholsshow.com. However you want to get your question into me, just make sure you get in the next week or so, because the date for the Patreon live conversation at this point is scheduled to be August 3rd. So we got or August 2nd, excuse me. So we have a week or so. So again, if you want to be included on that conversation in a live forum, briannicholsshow.com/support. Now, if you have been listening to the Brian Nichols Show, you know about our awesome ebook we have here. That's a free resource for you to help sell liberty to folks that you really are interacting with on a daily basis, your friends and family. And aptly named title of the book, 4 Easy Steps You Can Implement Now to Help Sell Liberty to Friends and Family, is my gift to you. Let me say that again, is my gift to you. There we go. Because at the end of the day, when I changed the show up back in August of 2020, the main focus was to start taking the issues that we talk about all day long in the greater liberty world and to be able to effectively sell them to your average person. Because at the end of the day, that's who we have to convince, is your average person. So how do we do that? I'm a sales executive by trade, and I see every single day the solutions-based approach to sales is the most effective, because when we can start solving problems that people see before them, we can then build trust. And as we build trust, then we can become the trusted advisor. And then people come back to us for solutions time and again, because we have shown that our solutions aren't just pie in the sky stuff, but stuff that actually makes sense and solves the problems that they see before them. So I said, let's go ahead and change the conversation. Let's start bringing the sales-based approach, the solutions-based approach to the greater liberty world. And what we've seen thus far has been an amazing switch. And it's truly stunning to see across the board the conversations that the liberty movement is currently having, not a matter of winning arguments, but more focused on how do we reach more people and actually solve those problems that they're seeing. I'm so excited, and I have to thank you guys, the audience, for helping be a part of this and taking not just the things we're talking about and listening, but actually taking it and using it. So if you so far read the ebook, I would also love for you to share your story. So number one, head to briannicholsshow.com/reviews. Give us a quick 5-star rating and review. And if you enjoyed the book, let us know there. Let other folks know there. But also, I would just love to hear about it. So either share it on social media, email me. Again, email, and then Twitter link at @BNicholsLiberty, of course. So with that being said, a final plug, and that is to the Brian Nichols Show store. And that is something that I never thought we would have here at the network, really, something that was a real tool for the audience to utilize when we're going out and trying to help sell these ideas to people, or at least to pique interest, to start these conversations. So I partnered with Proud Libertarian, an amazing store led by libertarian entrepreneurs. And what we found over the past few months is not only are you guys loving the content from the Brian Nichols Show store, but you guys, when you come up with ideas, we're able to get it not only looked at, but acted on and into the store in a matter of days. So from backpacks to bumper stickers, snapbacks to crop top hoodies, regular hoodies, t-shirts, and more. Of course, hey, look at this. I got my fancy Brian Nichols Show mug right here. There's so much you can find to help pique interest and start conversations over the Brian Nichols Show shop. So whether it's our Cool Mask Bro t-shirts, our Don't Nuke Me Bro Biden crop top hoodies, we have our Question Everything bumper stickers, our Good Ideas Don't Require Force snapbacks, and more. Head to briannicholsshow.com/shop. But of course, use code TBNS at checkout, be it in the Brian Nichols Show shop or anywhere else over on Proud Libertarian. 10% off your order. Code TBNS at checkout. All right. I think that's it. I think we've hit everything. Oh, one last plug, actually. And it is, I swear, the final plug of the day. SoundMind Creative Group. Cannot speak highly enough about these guys. So you've heard them on the show. They're doing a brand new docuseries. And the focus on that docuseries is about following the science, hence is why it's called Follow the Science, on liberty and lockdowns. The focus of the show is to actually present the real science, the actual conversations that the scientists are currently having beyond the mainstream narratives that are being promoted. So what I want to do is not only raise up the awareness of these fine folks, but I'm also helping them as well as Chris Goizetta is helping them with their PR and marketing. And what we want to do is, if you are either a libertarian podcaster, a liberty podcaster, conservative podcaster, I don't care. We would love to hear from you, because we would love to get the team from SoundMind Creative Group on your show to talk about their docuseries, Follow the Science. We've talked about this in the show. If we don't set the narrative, if we don't write our own history, the other side will. So it's important for us to help support those who are going out of their way to build up these solutions and the alternatives that are out there that they see before them. So with that being said, if you're interested, email me, Brian at briannicholsshow.com. And I swear to God, that is the last thing I have for you today. So with that being said, coming up here on Monday, Chris Goizetta returns to the program. Yes, I missed him last week. We did a re-air of my conversation with Remzo Martinez over on his program, but we are going to be having a conversation, yes, with Chris Goizetta, talking all things marketing. So make sure you've strapped in, hit the subscribe button, and of course, hit that little notification bell so you're not missing a single episode of the program. But with that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show for Steve Scheetz. We'll see you Monday.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.